Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy, your host for Healing Starts With You, an astrology and healing podcast. So today I'm going to talk about self-hatred. So, which is can be very strong in someone's chart. Okay. And I have done a lot of charts, and I can tell you that when you have like fear of change, fear of resistance, anger, self-hatred, unworthiness, and so much more, when you bring it into this lifetime, it's up to you, and it's got to stop with you so that you can move forward in your life. Because what happens is that energy will go on to your children, and then it's like a cycle. It'll just keep going on and on and on and on, and repeated patterns in your life. So I'll give you an example. I had someone that had a lot of self-hatred in their chart, stems from their childhood, and they had parents that had a lot of baggage, so they didn't receive any love whatsoever. And so they had a lot of self-hatred toward themselves, right? And they had that fear, they had that resistance, they had that fear of change. And then of course it shows up in how they have a relationship with somebody else, with their friends and family and so forth. And it just keeps having that repeated cycle. And then of course they will meet someone that has also similar issues where there's no self-love, right? Self-hatred. And of course back then there was nobody to help you when you have these emotions, right? And so what happened was this person just kept having that self-hatred and never resolved those issues at all. Okay. And what happened is, they end up having that relationship. Of course, it didn't go well. They had a child. And then the cycle just went over and over again, right? So it's really got to stop with you once you realize what is happening, and you have to turn it around, right? But there's a lot of people that have that fear of change. Back then, they didn't really go to doctors because really, they didn't really have anything to deal with that, right? And so once you acknowledge it, and this person, when I did their chart, I said, this is what's happening. And they sort of didn't really want to accept it, right? So they had that fear of change, that resistance, of course, right? But what happens when you keep having that self-hatred, right? It just keeps going and going and going until it stops with you and you change that, right? And self-hatred, once you change that, goes into self-love. And this is probably the hardest thing for people, especially if they have childhoods that were very traumatic or had parents that had a lot of baggage and they didn't change what was happening with them. And it's all about finding ways to help you with self-love. Okay. And there's a lot of new things out there, a lot of new healing modalities that will help you with that transition from self-hatred to self-love. But the most important part is to accept it, and it's got to stop with you, because you don't want to have all that energy go into your children and then their children. And it's like a repeated cycle over and over again, right? And that acceptance, that is the most important. Accepting that you have an issue, okay, that needs to be resolved, and to move forward and have that willingness to change, because we all have free will. So it's really up to us to decide, okay, and to start healing. And that's what healing is all about. So going from self-hatred to self-love, okay, which is really difficult for a lot of people. But there's so many healing modalities out there that can help you. So let me know if this story resonates with you. Comment below and subscribe to my podcast. Thank you.